Hi, I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast, where we reveal and explore both modern and ancient beauty secrets so you can radiate your true power and beauty both inside and out. Hello and welcome to the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Eddy, and I am so honored and excited to bring Elizabeth Beads here with us today. Elizabeth empowers women to stand in their strength as holistic leaders. She's a mentor and trainer for women in business. Through her 25 years as a wellness entrepreneur, she has been a magazine publisher, a transformational event producer, and is the founder of Women's Holistic Business Academy. Elizabeth is extensively trained as a holistic practitioner and has thousands of hours of advanced work in many modalities, including yoga therapy, massage, herbal and nutritional healing, Reiki, advanced energy healing, Ayurveda, and meditation, to name just a few. She stands for women having thriving businesses and balanced, fulfilling lives. She has been a spiritual seeker and entrepreneurial spirit from a very young age. Without further ado, I am super excited to bring Elizabeth here for you today. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Lisa, it is so good to be here. I'm so excited to be on the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle podcast, and you are amazing. You're such an incredible guide for women as well. So this is a perfect alignment.
Thank you. So I love so much about what you stand for and the experience that you have, which is why I wanted you to be one of my first guests here. And even though I did introduce you, I would love for you to share a little bit about where you're at now and how did you get here, and maybe tell us about your life and what you're up to right now.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm just so excited to connect with your community. And I train women in business. I have the Women's Holistic Business Academy, and I just love helping women to find their voice and rise in their leadership and have businesses that are fulfilling, that they align with, that they are doing good things in the world, helping people heal, but that they're also bringing in income so that they can continue to do what they're doing. So I love what I get to do. Like you also said, I've produced transformational events, conferences and festivals, yoga and wellness conferences and festivals for years. And I love events and workshops. I've produced over 1,000 workshops in my wellness career. And I started off at a pretty young age. I remember being 5 years old and thinking, like, where would I be if I wasn't born into this body? And I didn't have any spiritual or religious background at all, like not in my family. So that thought, who knows where it came from. But I remember just always feeling a little bit different, a little bit tuned in, a little bit interested in alternative health and healing in the natural world and nature and wellness, and became a vegetarian by the time I was 14 and started studying crystal healing and different healing modalities from the time I was like 12 years old. So probably like many of your listeners, like just felt a calling, and like you as well, felt a calling towards the natural and towards consciousness. And I've studied with some of the world's top teachers in consciousness and self-development and yoga and healing. And it's really put me on a path to do what I do now. So I brought all the things that I do, I brought them all together to create the Women's Holistic Business Academy. So like many of you who are listening, and like you, Lisa, we've done so many things over the years, right? So I love that I get to bring them together now into what I do.
That is amazing. You do have quite an extensive array of modalities and training under your belt, and what a gift to bring. You know, I know as one of your students that you're such an incredible mentor and you have so much to offer because of this.
Oh, thank you. Hasn't always been easy, for sure. It's been definitely a journey to get here. Probably like a lot of the listeners here, feeling like I'm on the outside, feeling like I don't quite fit into the regular world. And at the same time, buying into the idea that I had to do things like everybody else. So kind of living in the, I was thinking about it the other day, living in the purgatory of I'm neither a regular world person, nor am I totally on the outside, because I'm still interested in business and being online and things like that. So over the years, there have been challenges for sure. I remember when I had my yoga studio and wellness center, At the same time, I was starting up the publishing of my magazine and starting up my events company. I was also working as a nutritionist and a healer and a yoga teacher. So you can see where this is going. I was doing all the things because I thought that's what success looked like. From the outside world, it looked like amazing. She's doing all these great things. And I thought I was supposed to be working. I thought I was supposed to be doing it on my own. I thought I should know how to do it on my own. I think that we probably have some listeners here who feel similar, that I shouldn't need help. And so I found myself working like 7 days a week in my brick and mortar yoga studio wellness center, 7 days a week, sometimes 18-hour days. I would go to the studio all day, finish it, clean everything, like go clean the bathrooms and the floors after teaching and doing the healing work all day, would be trying to do the paperwork. And then I would go home, literally eat a bunch of chocolate. I'm a total chocoholic, but this was to stay up all night. That was the only thing I could really eat. Forgive me. So I'd eat a bunch of chocolate and then stay up working on my computer, publishing and catching up on all the emails. And I would just do this over and over again, sometimes crashing to sleep at like 4 a.m. and getting up and doing it all over again. And it really led me to this place of everything falling apart. Because when somebody works that much, it starts to fall apart. So I started getting really sick all the time, like one cold or flu after the other. My friendships started to fall apart. My relationships started to fall apart. And I feel like my soul started to fall apart. Like I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. I'd started off with this exciting feeling of I want to help heal the world, but it came down to a point where I was like, I hate what I do. I don't want to do it anymore. I wasn't making any money. I was scraping by on like $500 a month sometimes, and sometimes nothing. My savings was dwindling. I ended up being in debt, sick all the time. And I just remember at one point asking myself the question, what's wrong with me? Because I found myself day after day getting home, crashing, lying on the couch and crying for an hour. And it was one particular day, I remember just laying on the couch, crying my eyes out and being like, what is wrong with me? I can't keep doing this. Something has got to change. And that was the point where I realized, oh my gosh, I'm either going to like way crash and not do this anymore, and then eventually have to go work for somebody else, which made my soul feel like certain death, or I'm going to have to clean this up. And it was a moment that I made a choice to change that really changed everything. I think there are a lot of women who feel this way, who feel like they've crashed and burned and given their heart and their soul and ended up with nothing. And that's the point where I was at, and I decided to make a change. And I bet there's a lot of women listening, including you, Lisa. I know that you've been through a lot as well, that have similar journeys.
Absolutely. I think that story of busting our butt to make money in the service industry and as women is an old story that needs to die.
Absolutely.
So I love that you're sharing a new way. And you said something earlier about, helping women create lives they love and businesses they love that are actually generating
Yes.
revenue.
Yeah. Because that's what I realized in that in that burnout moment. I actually realized that what I was doing wasn't working. And so I started on a new path of I got to get my health together first. And what I realized was I had massive adrenal burnout. I didn't even know that was a thing. But meanwhile, I'd been studying health and wellness for decades before that. And I was like, what's adrenal burnout? And I looked up the symptoms and I was like, that's me, like crying all the time, feeling depressed, feeling lethargic, no energy, sick all the time, all these things. And I was like, this is adrenal burnout. And I really feel like that's a syndrome of entrepreneurial women who give and give and give, right? Like that. And the more I talk about it, the more I realize that 90% of the women I talk to raise their hand and say, yeah, me too. I've had that. I've been there. So I bet you a lot of the women listening right now have been there. And what I know to be true is that women shouldn't have to burn out to give in the world, to live their dreams, to have income, to do something other than going and working for somebody else. So that's what I really stand for. I'm like, that should not be happening anymore. And it's partly why I created the business that I have now, so that I could help and teach women that we don't have to burn out to do it, that we don't have to give up, and that we can do something good in the world and bring money in while we're doing it.
Amen.
Oh, woman.
Oh, what?
I love it.
Yes, thank you. Ah,
It's
woman.
so true.
And whether or not, some of our listeners are entrepreneurs or not, I think it's also more of a feminine thing that women often overgive. And we have so many roles we're playing today. And, as whether it's mom, partner, like all of the roles a woman will take on and tend to just give and give and give as empaths and intuits and healers and caretakers. Yes, me too, have experienced adrenal burnout. And I know so many women who have.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship is one way that relationship that we have with our business can become toxic and overgiving.
I like that I've never thought about it that way. It can become a toxic relationship. You just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I totally had a toxic relationship with my business back then. And like you say, women are giving in, women who don't have their own business, but they've overgiven their workplace or their careers or their families, and they just end up empty. That's where I was, and so many women. And there are steps to get out. And the number one is just taking charge of your health. Actually, really, the first step is admitting you have a problem. Those people who've walked through 12 steps, it's like step number one, I got a problem and I don't know how to do it. That was one of my biggest things, is I never wanted help because I thought that getting help or support was a sign of weakness. And now I know that it's actually a sign of strength to get help and support, especially from women who are walking alongside you on the path.
I love that. This is part of the new earth that we're creating. This is a part of the new paradigm that we're creating, that you can actually make your dreams come true. You can actually create a life that you love without compromise. Just like I stand for beauty without compromise, you stand for business without compromise, I would say.
Oh, I love that. We need t-shirts, one that says beauty without compromise and one that says business without compromise. It's so true. And I like what you said. It's a new earth. It's a new paradigm. It's a new paradigm of how we can actually be in the world. And what I hope for everybody listening is that you will get inspired and say, wait a minute, how have I been doing things that are not working for me? And how can I step into my new paradigm? And how can I say life without compromise, business without compromise, beauty without compromise?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that kind of segues into a question I was thinking about for you, because holistic business might not make sense to a lot of people. Now, I've been in the holistic industry forever, and like you, a spiritual seeker, very young age, entrepreneur for 22 years. Can you define holistic business for us? What would you say that is?
Oh, great question. Well, I heard something the other day on what the word integrate means, and it means to make whole. Isn't that beautiful? And so when I think of holistic, it's same thing. Holistic means it includes all. We make it whole. We make our lives whole through holistic living. And when we think holistic, we think we're not segmenting or compartmentalizing ourselves or our souls or any part of us, that we can live holistically. If you are a mother and you have children, you don't have to just be a mother. It's important that you are also, if you have a partner, that you're a partner, and that if you have a career of some kind, that you are also there for that. And you're also there for your own health, your own spiritual connection, your own, all the things. You could think of your health like a wheel, and some of you may have done that, is think of all the different parts on the wheel that make you whole. And are there parts of that wheel that are missing? Like, do you get outside every day? Do you drink enough water? Do you have time with friends? Are you also spending quality time with your children? Are you also working on your business? And at the same time, are you having fun? Are you getting pleasure and joy into your life? So that's holistic. When I think about it in terms of business, it gets even juicier for me because I've literally been an entrepreneur probably since I was 8 years old. So business is life. When I think of holistic business, I think of that too, that we don't have to give up our souls or our dreams to be in business. Because one thing that I know is that for those of you who are entrepreneurs or have a dream of starting your own business, is that we have this ability to give and give and give. Like you were saying earlier, Lisa, like it's this in the feminine world, we're just like givers, and we can give too much in our businesses and go out of balance. And yes, sometimes we need to go out of balance when we are, think of Eat, Pray, Love, when he's like, sometimes you got to go out of balance for love, right? Sometimes we've got to go out of balance when it's time to launch something or when we're doing an event, and then we bring back the balance. But in general, We have our businesses, we still get outside, we still go dancing, we still spend time with friends, with families, we work on our relationships. We have time for meditation and sacred practice, for physical exercise, for taking time to make and eat good food. So your business becomes this whole picture where it is one spoke in the wheel of life. And the reason I can speak to it is because I know. As I feel like I'm standing up here telling everybody I'm Elizabeth Beads and I'm a workaholic. Like I do have that tendency because I love what I do. I love creating and I love the healing work and I love making the world a better place. I'm so passionate. And I need to keep it holistic. I need to keep the picture of my whole life there. And so I make time for sure to actually exercise and to spend time with my partner and to have other activities other than my business that are creative outlets. So that's to me what it means to have a holistic business on one side. And I'm going to take this another direction too. Our businesses are whole in the world. We're not just giving to somebody and getting money, but we're actually making people's lives better. We're making the planet better. Because when you have a business, you have the ability to actually affect more people than just yourself and your clients. We have a bigger influence or voice in the world market, really, with our buying choices. So when you have a business, you can actually make the world a better place through your choices. You can reach more people. So that's what it means to me to have a holistic business.
Yes. I love that. I was thinking of balance when you said holistic. That's actually the exact word that came to mind. And that's kind of like what we're all often striving for. That seems unattainable or undoable at times. And I feel like I look at you and I see that balance. I see the balance. I think I said to you that you really have your masculine working for you because the masculine is what that part that has us, that drive, that assertive, that action taker, right? And I see that in you. And yet you're this beautiful example of the feminine, soft and grounded, earthy, like magical woman.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that reflection.
You're welcome. And so listening to, you speak about balance, like personally, professionally, and then the business actually like being holistic and doing good in the world. And that is one of the beautiful things I see with the rise of women entrepreneurship is that we often align our businesses with great purpose. I think it is the new way, period. Like we're all, as we're waking up on planet Earth right now, and we're all wanting a better world. And we have such an opportunity right now as an entrepreneur, particularly to create a greater impact in the world. So I love that.
Oh, we truly do. And I think that we can really contribute to a new paradigm. And women are looking, women, and not just women in women bodies, but people who are tuning into the feminine aspect and realizing, wow, our world is out of balance. Like I look at my life before was a parallel for the out of balance that we have in the world. And if we all look at our own lives or how are they out of balance, we can look at it and say it's a parallel or a reflection of the planet and of the world and of people on the planet. And by women, like you were saying, by women being in business and being in service and giving back, we can actually start to make a difference from the ground up. So the more women that are in business, and it doesn't even mean you have your own business for those of you who don't, but for more women who are taking some kind of leadership in their lives, we can make a difference. And it's time for that. It's time for the paradigm to turn back around and put women in places of leadership and power so that we can do that from a holistic power, holistic leadership. We can do that from a way that's going to make a difference on the planet because it is truly needed.
Yes, Queen. And holistic power empowers.
Mm-hmm.
A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
So again, loving what you're sharing here. And I'm sure this has shifted for you. I wonder how you would describe success and how that definition has possibly changed in the duration of your career as an entrepreneur.
Oh, I just love this question so much. How would I describe success? As a child, not just like being. But I remember as a teenager in school at some point, when it probably was like 14 years old, and the career people came into the classrooms and said, okay, what's your career path? What do you want to do with your life? Because the courses you take now, and then you're going to go on to college and university and all the things. And I was just like, whoa. I remember looking out the window and thinking, what do I want? And what came to me was, I want to be happy. And I think that that's so cool because that's something that has guided my life. So I had that deep in me. Like, I want to be happy. I feel a connection with something beyond just the physical realm. So I want that. So, really, to the younger version me, that's what success is. And also to the core of me. Success to me is that I am happy, I'm balanced, I'm connected. Whatever else happens, that's external. And I know that now because then I went into the adult world and went, oh, everybody's making money. Everybody's like buying big houses and putting up white picket fences and like doing these things. And I'm like, I just want to travel and explore and take trainings and be happy. But there was an undercurrent of self-doubt and questioning. Am I doing it right? Is happiness enough? Maybe I'm not successful. And that's when I went down the whole, even though I didn't go, okay, I'm going to go corporate. I still went like yoga and healing, but somehow I pushed that to the absolute outer limits beyond what I could do and did 10 businesses at once rather than just one. So at that point in my life, I would have defined success as I just have money coming in and I'm doing a whole bunch of different things and people looking at me from the outside thinking, oh, she looks successful. Look at, she's got all these businesses. She must have a bunch of money. That's what some lower part of myself would have defined as success. But all along in my heart, I knew it. I was like, ugh, I'm not making money at this. I'm giving it all away to everybody else, rent and employees and all the things. And I wasn't feeling successful deep down. And so I've explored success for years and years and years. What does it really mean? And it was that time when I burnt out that I really had to dig in and go, wait a minute, this isn't success. Ugh. I like to think of it now, and this will go so in line with the name of your entire company. I like to think of it as sacred success. Sacred success to me means balance. It means I do have money coming in as well, and I'm being of service, and I'm enjoying what I do, and I have a whole life. So success, yes, means that I have all the balance and the joy and the life and the peace. And I went that way for a while too. I was like, okay, I'm going to give up the brick and mortar and I'm just going to go into the joy. And I traveled for a bunch more time and took more trainings and like invested a bunch more money and ended up in debt. I was like, wait a minute, that's not success either. So I think that it comes back to what you were talking about, Lisa, with balance, because oftentimes in the holistic world, in the natural health and healing and alternative health and wellness world, we look at success and we say that's bad and income is evil and I don't want anything to do with money and the money system. But that actually cuts us off from a part of something that we actually need, doesn't it? And being cut off from income and sacred success and holistic wealth and having bank accounts full so that we can take care of our families and ourselves and our communities and buy local and buy organic and contribute to charities and do good things in the world. That to me is success. And to do that, I need money in my bank. And I need that money to come from doing something I love. So to answer your question, that's what success means to me. And I just put the word sacred right on it so that I know it is balance. And for those of you listening, sometimes we feel guilty about, but I feel guilty about money. And it's like sacred success encompasses all of those things.
That is so beautiful, Elizabeth. And everything is sacred. It's all sacred. And money is energy, right? It's just a means by which we move, give, and receive. And I love the way you bring balance back into this with the definition of success and how happiness has always been that pillar for you, even though we deviate sometimes, like you deviated a little bit trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. I don't know, that just came to me, but sometimes the pendulum has to swing to really provide that clarity. It's the contrast that gives us clarity. So that's why you now can be that expert of success and teaching people balance, because you've had that pendulum swing. You've seen it all. You've been there. You've lived it. That's how we really truly serve, when we can stand there and go, oh, I understand now. This is it. And you can really anchor it in your body.
Oh, so true. I love what you just said. Contrast gives us clarity. Like that. Thank you for that. It gives me the perspective of, right, that whole journey that I've walked through has given me the clarity to be here right now. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I love that, there are people like Gary Vee today that I was listening to him speak recently about how our school structure system is not set up for the entrepreneurial mind or spirit. And I'm like, of course it's not. And that's exactly why I never liked it. I didn't take the Main Street route like you. I've always been an entrepreneur. And I think that your mom was an entrepreneur, in a conversation we had earlier, and my father was an entrepreneur.
Right. We're raised entrepreneurial. I was an entrepreneur from the time I was born because my mom had her own business. And so I watched it. And by the time I was 8 years old, I was working in her business. So we know what it's like.
Yeah. And sacred.
Sacred success. You know, one thing I was thinking is that when I talk about business and money in the world, like there are some people that push away the success and the money, and you talk about that too. There are some women who push away beauty, like, oh, if we're going to be natural, if we're going to be holistic, we can't be concerned with how we look, and you bring that balance in so beautifully. So I wanted to mention that.
I actually got the same hit when you were speaking. I was like, it's the same thing.
Parallel.
Right?
So good.
Yes. And then, yeah, this is such great information. This is so fun to get to share this with people, because I think that there's a lot of pressure that's unnecessary, and that we can't have, fulfilled businesses or lives unless happiness is at the core. And that comes with serving and, ourselves and each other and the higher vision, right? It's all of those things.
It's so true. And we got to make that decision, like we said right in the beginning. Like, how do you actually step into sacred balance and a sacred business, a sacred life? If you don't have a business, it's making that decision. I want to claim balance. I want to do something good in the world. So, making that decision. And then another thing that really helps it is not doing it alone. So, just by listening to this podcast, everyone here listening is tuning in to a field of women who are rising together. And that's so critical. And another piece that makes a huge difference is having mentorship and coaching and guidance really specifically. Don't try to do it all on your own. It's kind of blow out and not really know where to go. And when that happens, what we risk is that women won't be making a difference in the world because they'll be like, it didn't work, and give up. So don't give up. If you're listening, don't give up. Just get help.
I love that. It's so true. It's so easy to get overwhelmed as women, and intuits especially, because we have that sensory intuition more attuned, because the feminine is supposed to pick up messages as a protector. So whether you realize it or not, we're often taking in so much data, right, around us all the time, that we can blow out and get overloaded more easy. And that's where rest is so important. I love what you shared about everything, really. But you just said something about, getting that support. And that brings me to the question of, like, what would you maybe advise someone just starting out on their own business right now?
Oh my gosh, don't do it alone. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I did all my businesses alone for decades, so long, because I thought that that was what I was supposed to do. And that's a lie. You do not have to do it alone. You don't have to know how to do it. That's another lie I told myself, is I should know how to do business. The truth was I'd taken all the modality trainings and the healing trainings and the yoga trainings and all the workshops and trainings, but I'd never taken a proper business training. And I realized that I had gaps, even though I'd been around entrepreneurs all my life and had started businesses. I was just kind of like starting them without any knowledge. And that's why they weren't working. And I use that word lightly. They were working. I was getting experience, I was getting knowledge, but they weren't working because I wasn't being paid. So a business works when you can actually get paid and it's long-term and sustainable. So don't tell yourself the lie that you should know how to run a business when you've never had business training. That's what I would tell everybody. Get support and training and mentorship and guidance with somebody who has walked the path. And when I say walked the path, I mean truly walked the path, not somebody who started a business last year and says, I'm helping businesses now, but somebody who has literally been in all the businesses that you've been in for many, many years and has the experience and the credibility and the strength to actually truly guide you. So that's really important when you're looking for mentorship.
That is so important, that someone actually has really, really lived it and can look you in the eyes and hold your hand at that moment and be like, I get it. You got this. And thank you for busting the myths of people thinking, or, women or anyone in general thinking that they need to know and that they need to do it on their own. Because that brings me to the African proverb that I love so much. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
So true.
And so that is what this is all about. And that is the feminine way. And that is the sacred way. We're coming back to community that we had disconnected from for so long. Like we're learning, food, farm to table. We're finally getting back to our roots there. And we're getting back to our roots in all the ways now, and thanking all the gods and goddesses for that. And thank you for being here and for your time and your wisdom and your heart and your soul and your beauty and your love.
Oh, thank you so much. I was just thinking we could give everybody our holistic business handbook. We could give them a free gift because that might help those entrepreneurs on the journey. Would that be okay?
I love that. Yes.
You can stick it in your show notes. There's a link for the holistic business handbook that has steps to guide you through in creating or continuing to create a business that is totally aligned with who you are and makes it really simple. So we can give that to all your listeners.
Awesome. Thank you. And how can they find you?
The best place to find me is I teach weekly in a Facebook group called the Women's Holistic Business Network. So they can just jump over there and find me on Facebook.
Okay, great. So we'll put both of those in the notes for you all. So thank you again. Such an honor and pleasure and so much fun.
So much fun. Lisa, you are creating so much goodness in the world. You're really gathering women together, and bringing this sacred beauty community together is so powerful. You are gathering the next level of queens who are going to bring the world to a better place. So thank you. And thank you, everyone who has listened and gained insights out of this. I hope that this served you.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Eddy, your host of the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle Podcast. I hope this episode brought you insights and inspiration to help you radiate and shine with confidence. Remember to subscribe so you receive new episodes hot off the press right when they are released. And follow me on Instagram for more juicy tips at I am Lisa Eddy. Also, ladies and gentlemen, when you rate and review my podcast, it helps me get seen by more people. And this means a lot to me because I am committed to reaching millions of women across the globe, waking them up to the sacred beauty lifestyle, owning their true power and beauty inside and out. Now, more than ever, we need more women shining instead of hiding. When we band together, we are unstoppable. This is how we change the world. Together. Remember the sacred beauty lifestyle and get on out there and shine. The world needs your light.